with latest industrial trends like IoT, Industry 4.0, ML, and AI. So on the behalf of Department of Mechanical Engineering, KBT College of Engineering, I once again welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Uh, now I request you, sir, to please guide us. Please, sir, Yuvraj.
Okay. Thank you, Patil sir, to introduce me, and thank you, the KBT COE, for organizing such a kind of faculty development program. It's my pleasure to tell you something about EV and its future and autonomous vehicle. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. See the screen now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, guys.
Present.
So
Yes, it's visible now.
Okay. So, guys, today's topic is like electric vehicle future and automated vehicle future. So, we'll go step by step. Like, first, I would like to introduce our company. Like, our company is Unique Vision Knowledge Link Private Limited, and our tagline is knowledge is a power and innovation is a passion. So we are working in many areas like CAD/CAM, product design and development, tool design development, plastic mold design, specialized design, even like manufacturing of all kind of tools. Even we are working now aggressively in industry 4.0 projects, then machine learning, artificial intelligence. We develop our own vision system. We are working on a data science. So this is all our portfolio. Even we have like consultant from all over the globe, from Italy, Vietnam, China, and India. So this is all about our company. This is about me already. Let's explain this. Just I would like to give a little bit brief about me. I have near about 20 years of experience. I've worked in a different industries. Like I started my career from Mahindra and Mahindra Nasik, then Tata Motors R&D, then Mercedes-Benz R&D. I've been in a different countries like Germany, China, and then Korea. And my last job, like I was leading complete design and development of BIW for electric vehicle when I was in China through Mercedes-Benz. I worked as an expat over there, and I filed several patents. Some of my patents filed in India as well as in Europe. And 2016, we started this company. So these are our currently the customers. We are working with Mahindra CIE, then TCS, HL, DRDO, Reliable, Tata Technologies, Mahindra and Mahindra, many more. So now, today we'll see the EV technology, the future for EV, the current scenario, and what is mean by autonomous vehicle. So might be, I don't know, you are hearing the voice of this video or not. Is it audible? The video of
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It is audible.
Yes, sir.
oh,
Yes, sir.
okay.
13 अस्पतालों में फिट किए गए 2 अस्पतालों में 10,000 और 5 अस्पतालों में 6,000 किलोलीटर वाले स्टोरेज टैंक के साथ ही मुंबई के अस्पताल रिफिल मोड से हटकर स्टोरेज
Somebody's mic is on, I guess. Yeah. So this is related to EV development. And if you see the Indian EV market sale, we sold near about 7,50,000 units in 2018-19. The major portion is 1,26,000 units of two-wheelers, three-wheelers 6,30,000, and 3,600 four-wheelers. And then FAME India, the initiative by government is promoting a lot. They are giving a lot of subsidies and to promote the EV manufacturing. Just one small AV. Okay. Now we'll see the forecast for EV market in India by 2025. If you see, if we compare 20 on 2019 and 2025, the volume for expected volume for two-wheeler is 23 times. It's like we sold near about 1,30,000 vehicle, and the expected market growth is 30 lakh. Even e-rickshaws, it's two times, more than two times. Even e-auto, that is also the tremendous expansion is going on, tremendous work is going on. If you are aware with Ola is also coming. Ola is already in four-wheeler taxi segment. They having a tie-up with Mahindra and Mahindra. They they're using E2O. And but for the two-wheelers, the Ola invested near about 2,500 crores, and they are like fully automated plant. They are going to start. Means like for 2 seconds they are going to make one two-wheeler. So think about the volume and think about the market space for the EV. Even the government is targeting, like by 2030 they want to populate near about 30% vehicles should be EV. Got my point, guys? So e-passenger vehicles is also expected volume should be 105 times if we compare with 2019. So here is some facts and figures. If we look at the European market in the last pandemic, like if we compare 2019 and 2020, the February and March is like these two is a pathetic months in Europe for this pandemic situation. But then also, if you see here, for US, the IC engine vehicle percent. Even in UK, if we see, it is reduced, but the EV segment get increased. Means in pandemic also, if there is a lot of hit to the market, then also the EV market has a demand. Even in Germany, it goes to 141% in month of Feb, and in month of March, it's 104%. Even in France, if you see, like the IC engine reduced by 1.9%, but the growth for EV is 191%. Unbelievable, guys, unbelievable. Yes, but the major hit is to the China. Is all segment get down in month of Feb and March last year, but they are growing like anything nowadays. And Italy, if you see here, 500 times. Look at the tremendous record in a world market for the EV. Now, if we see the market size of EV component in India, is not correct. So when EV comes, there is an electric motor, there is a battery, there is a power electronic, there are charging stations. So all like there are a lot of accessories required for EV. So the business expected by 2025 for electric motor is nothing but 1.23 billion, and for batteries is 1.86 billion dollars. Huge potential. Then power electronics is 1.47 billion dollar. Charging stations is 0.23 billion dollar. Even government of India is also taking a lot of initiatives to set up a charging stations. So EV is not only a vehicle, there are a lot of other parts or accessories where you can, like there are opportunities for the business, there are opportunities for the job, and there is tremendous opportunities in this, like this in tagline EV. If you just put the word EV, there are tremendous job opportunities and even business opportunities down the line 5 years, 10 years. And even if you know that we require lithium-ion batteries, and there are a lot of initiatives taken by the companies, corporate, to start lithium-ion battery production in India, because more or less we are 95% depend on China market for these lithium-ion batteries. Yes, we are importing from other countries also, but the portion is very less. But even our target, Indian OEMs also decided to start this battery manufacturing. Might be a old data, but there are new initiatives also. Tata Chemicals is also coming into the picture. Even there are a few companies, they started some functions in Gurgaon, Delhi. Now here you can see the Suzuki is coming into the battery business. They are going to invest near about $12 billion. They already purchased a 126 land for this kind of project. Even Exide Battery, they are also coming for a battery plant. The target is 40 GWh production capacity, but it might be more than that because there are a lot of new players are also coming in this business, and there is a tremendous scope for the business and tremendous markets down the line to 5 years or 10 years. So if you see the battery cells, then power electronics, the thermal management system, battery management system, electric propulsion, connectors and wiring harness, DC to DC converters, charging systems. These are the accessories you can call, or this is like the components required for this EV business. The present opportunity means it's a 2019 scenario, and it was low, but now there is a tremendous potential for this business because all things are like, if you're going to manufacturing EV, you require a battery and battery cell, you require a power electronics, and to get the more mileage, then more like efficiency, you need a thermal management system for the particular battery management system. So we call it as a BTMS, battery thermal management system. So there is a tremendous scope for these kind of things. Then electric propulsion like motors and like transmission systems. There is a huge potential. By 2025, tremendous like the picture in India will be drastically will change with respect to the EV. So here is like a range is anxiety, that is we all know, and for that there is like the main thing is your brain of EV is what is your battery management system, and if this battery management system we combine with the thermal management system, we'll get a very good results. If here we see that the advanced battery management system with a set of SOH design algorithm to maintain the active cell balancing equilibrium and extend range of EV with sustainable powertrain. Yes, of course. But why BMS is important? As far we all know, there is a huge translation of automotive market from IC to EV, and EV market is facing due to lower sustainable charging infrastructure and more charging time. So we have to work on it, and there are a lot of companies, a lot of corporates are working on it. Since EV works on higher energy density lithium-ion batteries, a battery management system is any electronic system that manage a rechargeable battery cell or battery pack, such as by protecting the battery from operating outside its safe operating area, monitoring its state, calculating secondary data, reporting that data, and controlling its environment, authenticating it, and balancing it. It's the function of your BMS. So as I told you, BMS is nothing but your brain of EV. So as I told you, like BTMS, that is a thermal management system. The thermal problems are the main concern to be undertaken because lithium-ion batteries are very fluid and sensitive to the ambient temperature. So all electronic devices and circuits generate excess heat and require thermal management to improve the reliability and prevent a premature failure. So the amount of heat output is equal to the power input. Yes, if there are no other energy interaction, consider if you are driving your car in Nasik, where average temperature is about 30 degrees Celsius, but if it is in Chennai, it might be a 40-45 degrees Celsius. So your battery get drained very easily or very fast. So what the optimum BTMS means? So battery thermal management system plays a vital role in a control of the battery thermal behavior. So we have to control the heat. We have to manage this heat. So there are a lot of technologies, a lot of you can say platforms to set it. The cooling system, you can say the BTMS technologies are air cooling system, liquid cooling system, direct refrigerant cooling system, and then phase change material PCM. You might be aware with that cooling system and thermoelectric cooling system as well as heating. So these all kind of things are required, and there are a lot of work is going on this in these technologies Even we are also doing a lot of work in this. UK has means we have our expertise in CAE and CFD, and we are also working in thermal management system for batteries. So moving ahead, here is one case study for this range anxiety, and you can say the how we can save the energy and indirectly we can reduce the pollution. So here is one case study. If you see the example for Nexon, and the range for Nexon is assumed for a petrol engine is a 17 kilometer per liter. As you know, the petrol calorific value is 9528 Wh per liter. And if we see the average energy consumption at a wheel, means from the tank to wheel, is nothing but your calorific value divided by range. So that energy consumption could be around 560 Wh per kilometer. And as you know, the refinement and transportation efficiency of fuel means from well to wheel or fuel system, you can say, is 67%. And that's why if we calculate the average energy losses from well to wheel is 836 Wh per kilometer. And if we have to compare apple to apple, so we will take the same example of Nexon with EV. So there, like saying the car, the EV, Nexon EV is a mileage is 300 kilometer per charge, and battery capacity is 30 kWh, is 30,000 Wh. So average energy consumption at a wheel means battery to wheel, or you can say tank to wheel, it's nothing but the battery power divided by range. So it comes around 100 Wh per kilometer. And the charging and discharging efficiency is 80%. So average energy with the battery losses, if you see here, the average energy divided by efficiency, so it comes around 1283 Wh per kilometer. So production and transmission efficiency of electricity is the 30%, means from the grid to the consumer. The losses are near about 70%, as you know. So the average energy with the production and transmission losses, the well to wheel is 419 Wh per kilometer. So guys, is we are saving nearly 50% of energy, and if the CO2 emission we need to speak about it. So is means for EV we can say it's the green. We reduce the CO2 emission, but not direct completely zero emission, because we are using the energy from the grid or energy from the electricity from the grid. But if we use a natural resources like a solar energy, like a wind energy, and then we can say it's a completely green. So just a sec, just to hold down, I will bring my just a minute. Yes, am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Audible.
Okay, okay. Yes, sir. Yeah, because there is only an explanation, I thought to bring my digital pen. So here we can say we consume near about losses of energy is 836.52 Wh per kilometer, and here is nearly 50% you can say. And then CO2 emission, it get reduced indirectly. And third one is if we go for the natural energy resources like solar, like a wind, then we can say it's to go for EV, it's totally green, there is no CO2 emission. Okay guys, so moving ahead, there is one example, this is one case study how much money we can save if we go for EV, and how much energy we can save. So if we drive a car 35 kilometer per day, so assume we can drive 1,000 kilometer per month and 12,000 kilometer per year, and your car has a mileage 17 kilometer per liter. So yearly you are consuming 705 liter of fuel, and average cost assume is 100 rupees. So we are going to spend like 70,500 rupees for a per year while we are driving a petrol car. And the same case, if we are driving an EV, it get the cost required is 8,400 only. It's a 10 times it reduced. So the battery capacity, the assumptions are like this is example of EV only, Nexon only. The battery capacity is 30 kWh, and the range we are assuming 300, and cost per unit is 7, and assuming the 12,000 kilometer per year, and we need to charge 40 times yearly. So per charge we have to spend 210 rupees. So altogether we required 1,400 rupees. And the losses wheel to wheel, you can say here is a 617 near about, and here is 419. So EV is always at upper hand. And even government of India is pushing a lot to introduce EV in the Indian market because of this pollution and all concerns. Now, guys, like what about EV? And we're talking about the in modern technologies in EV. We are using a lot of power electronic system, memory boards. Then these all things are embedded. There are control panels, there are BMS, battery management systems. So this is all set up for linear conditions, where the road conditions are like, for these linear conditions, there are some assumptions, there are some pattern, but on road we never know. There are some non-linear working conditions or non-linear conditions are there. So we call it as a sometimes road, sometimes a driving cycle, sometimes environment. This is a non-linear. So here, like we are going to see the fundamental of autonomous vehicle, and even the advancement in EV, like the future of the EV, what it will be, and currently where we are or where the technology is there. So here we are talking about linear and non-linear modeling. So because of this unexpected environment, we required a non-linear behavior or non-linear modeling to sense the real-time conditions and predict the work feature of the real environment. Believe on me, guys, when there is a predict word or there is a prediction, there is a future predict, we call it as AI, which is nothing but your artificial intelligence. Means, what is meant by artificial intelligence? So you have to respond like a human, you have to work like a human, you need to think like, means your machine, you means your machine need to work like a human, your machine is a think like a human, your machine should react like a human. But when we are giving some data, some inputs, some pattern to the system, to the machine. So with respect to that data, it's doing a machine learning, it's doing like a computing and giving the predictions. We called it as AI, giving the reactions, but depend on data. Correct. So in modern day scenario, we all are talking about a smart system, AI, data prediction, but how it can help to tackle the real-time problems. So for these real-time problems, there is a new technology also coming into the picture that I will explain you in the next slide. So we are talking about little bit about AI, or intelligence, you can say. So if there is a very good lecture by Professor Linda, yes, and she's speaking about this linear and non-linear functionalities and neuromorphical computing technologies. So might be if you get a time to hear the lecture from Professor Linda, please go through it. There are a few points here from that lectures only. So what is meant by cognition and intelligence? Cognition is nothing but it is the process of learning from the experiences on the basis of a robust set of capabilities and polished ethics. So cognition is depends on learning from the experience. But what is meant by intelligence? So intelligence is nothing but your reaction towards unknown environment. That is nothing but your intelligence. Correct. So by definition, we can say it is the manifestation of cognition resulting abilities to independently react for the situation. Independently react for the situation. That situation might be will the system know, or it don't know. Okay. So you have to react as per the situation. It's nothing but your intelligence. So in artificial intelligence, it all depends on your learning experiences. Okay, but if you talk about non-linear ability, non-linear functions, here the intelligence comes into the picture. Here is one example of octopus. We usually say that octopus has a 9 brain, but it's not like that. Octopus has one central brain, and its neuron system is for each leg. It has 8 legs, and each leg behave like independent leg, independent system. It responds independently. Correct. So this is just an example to explain you the intelligence and the neuromorphic computing technology. Okay, that we are going to use in a future vehicle technology or might be any system. So which will be the future neuromorphic computing technology? So the octopus is each leg is reacting as it has its own brain and it's filtering some information. It's like if suppose it has it gets 7 to 10 inputs and is maybe the important inputs are just 4, 5 or maybe 7, and that only it is going to be transferred or filtered to the main brain or central brain. Okay, so here it work as a unit, it work independently. So now what is mean by this intelligence and this neuromorphic computing, and what is the relationship with EV that we'll see? This system must be intelligent to learn, sense and react independently into the environment. A predictive, analytical, even AI that I explained you earlier. AI is just a pre-step of a smart system, but it is not a smart system. It is not a smart because it is working on a data set. It is working on some pattern. It's not giving the immediate reaction or immediate thought process or immediate processing is not happening in AI. So if something can relate to the capability of decision sensing element feature. Okay, fine. So might be the next slide, it will be clear. So now if assume your vehicle has a linear system design, like autonomous vehicle, we are now going towards EV to autonomous vehicle. Okay, and here in a linear system, the input variables like the road conditions, overheating issues, there are some like pedestrian, the traffic signals, there are multiple input variables you can say. So there is a particular data collection and the data set which already been there, and via the solver, what solver is doing, what computing is doing, they are solving this with the help of whatever the inputs they are getting and the whatever the data they has. Okay, so after computing they are giving the solution. We call it as a post-processor solution. So this is nothing but your linear system design. Okay guys, but if suppose there is a sudden something environmental changes happen, if a system failure due to the sudden change in condition, the conditions like environmental conditions or might be the driving conditions, you can say. So if there are sudden change in conditions, and here you can say the gradability. So these sudden changes, how to react these sudden changes, the system doesn't know. Let it be its AI. Okay. So now, because it's a linear system, because it's a linear computing, but now if we go for non-linear computing or neuromorphic computing, you can say here like body, it's a graphical representation of these both systems. This is a linear system design and this is a non-linear computing system. Okay. Now body, what is meant by body? Body is nothing but the sensor controls. Like there are different sensors. We require inputs. So for the taking that inputs, we require different sensors. Maybe thermal sensors, you can say, maybe the distance sensors, light sensors. So whatever data we required, we use these sensors. We are collecting the data. Okay. Just listen. There are a difference between linear and non-linear. So in linear, we are collecting the data, but we have a data set. We have the collection of data. Okay, here we don't have any data. We are fetching the real-time data. Okay, so then that real-time data, independent self-model development. So we have means like the system, we call it as a stochastic engine, as a system. This stochastic engine has to learn that data, okay, and it has to set the pattern. You can say as might be a DNA, and it has to set the pattern, and that pattern it has to make the replica for that pattern or that for particular DNA. Okay, so we call it as a lifelong learning, means we are sensing some data. Okay, we are getting some information and then we are learning that information. Okay, we are like making even some pattern of that information. We are making, means that machine is making the replica of that information or that pattern. Then for fast decision making, here we are saying it's a non-linear, and decision we have to give very fast, immediate. Okay, a reaction, it should be a reactive, responsive towards the unknown environment or the situation, you can say. So it has to be computing with a neuromorphic, we call it as a neuromorphic computing. It's like our brain, there are neurons in our brain. And the spinal cord is like, you can say there is a transfer the neurons, and the system has to behave like a brain, and it has to process that data. It has to compute that data. Okay, and we called it as a neuromorphic computing system. Already the Microsoft developed some chip, some like control system which work on analog neuromorphic computing system. And then we are doing, here we are doing computing, and here we are doing deep machine learning, we can say. This is a deep machine learning. Okay, so we are doing this deep machine learning. Okay, and then algorithm has to build like this to run the system, means to get the inputs, learn the inputs, make the data, make the pattern, make the replica, compute it with the help of analog neuromorphic computing, and then do the deep machine learning and get the result, means the reaction, you can say. So this is a reaction to the non-linear functionalities, So here we are called it as a non-linear modeling technologies, and this is the future also. So now the automobile, now the EV is not only a mechanical, it's all, it's electrical, electronics, it's a computer. So more or less, if you see the body frame is the same, the structure is same, BIW is same, the trim parts is same, steel is same, your plastic is same, but this new technologies is coming, and the whole journey of the automotive vehicle is now to be drastically changed down the line 5 years or 10 years or maybe within 2 3 years. Even there is a lot of work is going on. Even BMW, Mercedes, these companies already started working on this non-linear modeling technology. Okay, here more advancement in EV will come. Means this is about your modeling technologies or development in the futures will come. Okay, so now okay, so vehicle to grid infrastructure. Now we know that from the grid we are getting the electricity to our house, or maybe the electricity to the charging machine. Here is an example of if we are taking energy for the EV charging, if we are taking energy from the house, our own house. So the AC to DC converter is also there. Okay, fine. So when vehicle to grid we are talking about, so in all drawing unused power means this is a graphical representation. Here what we have to do, like whenever we want the energy to the vehicle, we are drawing energy, correct? And but at the peak hours when we required more energy to the uh, means like electricity department required more energy or grid required more energy, the if your electric vehicle is making has a energy, it has to go back again to the grid. Okay, so here we call it as a vehicle to grid technology. So vehicle to grid involves drawing unused power from the car into the smart grid. This is also known as a vehicle to grid integration, and it can help the energy grid supply electricity during the peak hours, as I told you. It will also create an extra power source when weather dependent renewable energy source are not available. Correct? It means the solar energy is not available. Then we can use the energy from the our EV. This is an example like a home that uses a solar power cannot generate electricity at night, but electric vehicle could provide a secondary source of power if needed. This type of technology can help meet a clean energy goals such as a targeting zero carbon emission by 2045. So look at the whole world is going towards this 20 zero emission, and even as I told you, government of India is also taking a lot of initiative. Just because of this pandemic, there is certain pause on some certain schemes and certain development, but very soon I guess it is going to be start. It's already has been started, but there is some pause, you can say, because of this pandemic. So it can also provide an added benefit to the consumer by potentially lowering the cost of electric vehicle ownership. Yes, and owner can sell back surplus power from their vehicle in order to offset the other cost. Means the electric vehicle owner also should get some benefit if he or she sell the energy to the grid, energy to the electricity department. Okay, now here we are talking about autonomous vehicle. So there is a different type of autonomous vehicle with different types of level, you can say. So first that you know that no automation, like zero autonomy, the driver perform all driving tasks. This is our regular vehicle. Then this how its level get increased, that we'll see. Driver assistant. So vehicle is controlled by the driver, but some driving assistant features may be included the vehicle design. There are some, like from the steering assistance, you can say, from the braking assistance. So there are some limited assistance is getting to the driver. Then partial automation, you can say vehicle has combined with automated functions like acceleration, then steering, but the driver must remain or engage with the driving task and monitor the environment at all time. So here the driver's attention is must. Here is also conditional automation also. Driver is a necessary, but it is not required to monitor the environment. The driver must be ready to take a control of the vehicle at all times with notice. The environmental condition has to be taken care by the vehicle. Then if you go to the next level, high automation. The vehicle is capable of performing all driving functions under certain conditions. The driver may have the option to control the vehicle. Okay. So the Tesla is working on all these 3 platforms. Okay. Then the full automation, the vehicle is capable of performing all driving functions under all conditions. The driver may have the option to control the vehicle, but the full vehicle has been controlled by vehicle itself. Okay, so this is nothing but your full automation. So this automation is going step by step. Okay, so moving ahead, here we can see now the physics behind the automated vehicle or autonomous vehicle. So there are certain systems, you can say, like global positioning system, GPS, light detection and ranging. We call it as the LiDAR, cameras. Okay, then ultrasonic sensors we are using. Then central computers, radar sensors, the dedicated short-range communication best receiver. Okay, so here if suppose there is a automated vehicle, we can say has this kind of systems already there, like cameras. There are forward-facing cameras, array focus near and far to detect the vehicle activity, pedestrians and traffic signals. Correct. Then stereo cameras. The stereo cameras, pair of cameras are used to capture the 2D picture and can detect the object. Okay. Then LiDAR system, we call it as a like light detecting and ranging system. It creates a 360-degree 3D map of the vehicle surrounding the using lasers, using the laser technology. Some additional LiDAR units are like we are mounting here to get the more information about the vehicle or blind spot. Okay, and of course there is a system, there is a computer which doing the computing or processing the data. Okay, we call it as a live data process to get the all signals and process it and gives the output, or you can say the reaction or response towards the inputs. Okay, so like a pre-processing activities, we are using all these kind of sensors. Then for the processing, we are using our computer, and the post-processing, we call it as a vehicle performance. Okay, so this is physics behind the autonomous vehicle. Now, if you see, there are some terminologies or nomenclature or functionalities of these components. So cameras, as you know, they provide a real-time obstacle detection to facilitate the lane departure and track road information. So real-time obstacle detection facilitate the lane departure and track roadway information like traffic signals and all. So there is a radar system. Radio waves detect short and long range depth. Then LIDAR uh, measure a distance by illuminating the target with pulse laser light, and measuring reflected pulses with the sensors to create a 3D map of an area. This is the LIDAR system. Now think about the cost of vehicle, guys. So many systems we are going to use, and I don't know, so that's why this Tesla vehicle is so expensive. And when it will come to India and the autonomous vehicle, the future of autonomous vehicle in India is really, really challenging, and need to see the future development of autonomous vehicle in India, because the geographic conditions and the social conditions, the weather conditions are different if you compare with the US and India. Okay, so the GPS triangulates position of car using the satellites. Current GPS technology is limited to a certain distance. Advanced GPS is in development. Yes, the ultrasonic sensors uses a high frequency sound waves and bounce back to calculated distance. Best in a close range. For the close range, we are using these ultrasonic sensors. The central computer, we call it as a brain of the vehicle or brain of the your autonomous vehicle. Here we are computing the real time data, and after all, like we are using this might be, as I told you earlier, the neuromorphic computing technologies or deep machine learning we are using with the help of this central computer and giving the reaction or response to the inputs. So DRSC receiver, the communication device permitting vehicle to communicate with vehicle to vehicle. Okay. So DSRC is a wireless communication standard that enables reliable data transmission in active safety application. Now, here we can see this is the future of autonomous vehicle, where each vehicle has to speak with every other vehicle. Means there is a tremendous, a drastic reduction in the accidents, and I would say there will be no accident. Of course, it's all depends on again the country to country and your social environment and like weather environment, you can say. So connected and automated vehicles, CAV, is connected to autonomous vehicles and driverless cars. Is a transformative technology that has a great potential for reducing the traffic accident, enhancing quality of life, and improving the efficiency of a transportation system. So the difference between the two cars is the level of involvement the driver has. Correct? The connected cars, we might be able to use a remote parking, route guidance, but driver still has ultimate control. It should be there. In a driverless car, you are in the passenger seat, letting the car to do decision making. So this is like already Tesla has his own automated vehicle. I'm repeating it again, but still it has some challenges. It also has some accident. The autonomous vehicle goes on the partition wall, something like happens. There are few cases. Even the driverless car might be without driver assistance. To drive a car on the road is not allowed, I guess, by law in the US. So this is the future of automotive industry. Means electric vehicle, then autonomous vehicle, from the linear modeling to the non-linear modeling. So there are tremendous development is going on in automotive industry, and we have to update ourselves with this new market trends and with this technology. Even like if we don't run with these new technologies and don't do anything with these new technologies, so we will be nowhere, guys. So this is all about our what you called EV and autonomous vehicle. And as to convey something to you, this is an initiative by eLearn Era. And what is this eLearn Era? eLearn Era is nothing but the online learning platform developed by UVK Technologies Private Limited. That is our own company. And our online learning platform, we are working in many areas like electric vehicle technology, product design, tool design, gauges design, computational science, machine learning, AI, CAE, CFD, Industry 4.0. So you will get a lot of training models, and that training models has been developed by the industry experts. And they are like in a new, like they're working on these new trends, and this course we developed with help of these experts. There are a lot of IITians involved, there are a lot of doctorate people are involved, there are a lot of foreigners are involved to build this course. So guys, if you get a time and if you want to learn more, please do visit eLearn Era. And we have very good cordial link between the OEMs and from top research and development department from the Mercedes-Benz, Tata Motors, Tata Advanced System, Magna Steyr, Mahindra & Mahindra, Reliable, Mungi Engineers, many, even HL. So this is all about EV, autonomous vehicle, and my company, guys. So now over to you. So if you have any questions, please go ahead, guys. Please ask. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yuvraj sir, for your nice presentation. Now I request the participants, if they are having any questions, you can interact with our today's speaker. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Yes, sir. So I request participants, you can interact with our today's speaker, Mr. Yuvraj Wadje. You can unmute your mic and you can ask questions.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Sir,
please.
what is the future of EV in agriculture? Automobile.
Okay, agriculture automobile means you mean to say the tractor and all, or the devices we are using for to do agriculture, means like agri industry, isn't
Yes,
it?
sir. Yes, sir.
Farming. Actually, thing is that like currently there is no development on this kind of thing. Is for the EV, for the farming, but there are development is happening. The devices we are using a solar energy or wind energy. Even there is artificial intelligence. Even we are making a drones which can do the like pesticides, and there are a lot of development happening in that area. Okay, but not as such EV for the replacement for the tractor or any other devices. Currently, there is no development, such development, as per my knowledge.
But sir, is it feasible to use such a technology for tractors because they need large amount of torque?
Yes, it's feasible. Even I think Sonalika tractor started their first EV tractor, I guess. There is small development happening from the Sonalika. You might be aware with Sonalika tractor, international tractor.
Yes,
you
sir,
know
yes.
this? Yes. So they already, I think, making some electric tractors, and they're going to use might be the 20 kilowatt or 30 kilowatt battery capacity. But yes, a few development is going on, but how much it is feasible till date, there is no big data.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir,
Hello.
Yes, sir. Please introduce yourself.
Good morning, sir. I am Sagar Wankede from Pimpri Chinchwad College of Engineering.
Yes, please.
So I have one question related to BTMS, Battery
Okay.
Thermal Management System. So
Yes,
do we
please.
correlate the structural optimization of different components in BTMS?
Means what? What you mean to?
Means, is there any relation, or we can change the structure in BTMS so that it will improve the system? Or you already told that range is the anxiety. So
Of
for
course,
that
of
we
course.
need to design good BTMS. So for that BTMS, so we can whether we can it is feasible to correlate different structural parameters into that BTMS.
Of course, of course. My thing is that like BTMS is what means thermal management is what whatever the heat generates that we want a cooling system, correct? So there
Means
might be a air cooling, there might be a water
water
cooling, there might be
phase change
like a
material,
force cooling.
force convection,
If you force convection. Now if you see the
thermoelectric
E2O.
cooling.
Yes, yes. If you see the E2O, that is Mahindra, they have the force cooling. They have multiple fans. Okay, but if you
Okay.
go to the Tesla, it's a liquid cooling. Okay, they might be using some coolant or maybe the water integrated coolant, something like this. But they are using liquid cooling system. Okay, and the phase change material is also one an option, but this phase change material, if it get changed the phase from liquid to solid or solid to liquid, it has to again retain its own phase. Okay, so
Yes, sir.
for that mean there is a we need to work how we can do this neutralize phase changing. Okay,
Okay.
so yes, there are a lot of options and lot of structural, even structure you can like E2O whole battery pack or battery system is inside the vehicle. Okay, and
Yes.
if we go for a Tesla or maybe the Denza, where which I worked on. Okay, so the whole battery structure is below the car, means outside the car. Okay, means
Yes.
it gets the force cooling, means like the natural cooling also, and there is a force cooling also. So it depends on the structure. Yes, correctly said. And technology.
Sir, Mr.
For
Prasad will start. Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
there is noise from background.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So do
Mr.
we
Prasad.
get some setup for hello, sir?
Yes,
Is
please.
that setup for BTMS available?
Thing is that our company we are developing our own BMS and the thermal management system. There are some projects going on, and we are making some setup for it. So the complete EV prototype we are going to make, and all R&D we need to do on that particular setup. Physical.
Okay.
I'm talking about physical.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyhow, we are going for Simulink and CFD softwares that digitally we can do.
Yes, sir. I have a question. Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Please go
Please
ahead.
introduce yourself.
Yeah, this is Professor R.M. Sonar from SNJP College of Engineering, Chandwad. I have a
Okay.
question, sir. You have taken that case study in that you said that 70,000 rupees is the cost of petrol vehicle and
Mhm.
7,000 is the cost of electric
Mhm.
vehicle.
Mhm.
So my question is, what is the cost of battery and what is the life of the battery?
Yes, 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 yes. Very good question. Thing is that, like, yes, correctly said. Means I directly coming to your cost parameter. If I go for a Nexon petrol engine car, okay, so might be I will get in 8 to 10 lakhs or 7 to 8 lakhs, correct? And if I go for a battery operated vehicle, it could be around 15 lakh. Okay, and that is a major headache you can say or major obstacle for the EV companies because the battery price is heavy and the battery life is it's varying from 3 to 5 years. It depends on your uses again. And as we discussed, like if we use very good BTMS, battery thermal management system or BMS, So the life of battery or functionalities of battery can also get increased. But yes, the cost impact is there and life of battery is the concern. Yes, rightly asked.
So for petrol vehicles, sir, the for 5 years the cost uh, comes up to 4 to 5 lakhs, and for battery it is coming out up to 8 to 10 lakhs. So is it not the overhead to our customer?
Yes, is there, but the thing is that if suppose you compare apple to apple, and as if you compare 70,000 for a calculation, just for sake of calculation, 70,000 and 7,000, 10 times difference is there. So in a 5 years, down the line 5 years, so you are going to spend on a petrol near about 4 lakh or 3.5 lakh. And on this EV, you're spending just 35,000 or 40,000. So this is the difference, like where you can like compensate you whatever the extra you paid for the battery. This is not the correct you can say the convincing answer for this kind of thing, because whatever the differences are there is there, whatever the cost differences are there is there, because all lithium ion and the battery packs and all, there are very few manufacturers in India, and the raw material, we don't have raw material with us. We are importing raw material from the countries like China and all. But day by day, like new companies are coming in, they are manufacturing their own lithium ion batteries, and even the steel company, what the name of the steel company, they are going to make the lithium in India, or they are going to get the source for this lithium ion in India. So Lakshmi Mittal, I think Mittal Steel. So there are such development is happening in the country, and might be the battery pack or battery cost get reduced.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes, please. Yes.
Hello. Yes, sir. Very good morning.
Good morning.
I myself, Professor Pradeep Rathod, working as an assistant professor in AISSMS IOIT, Pune.
Okay.
Sir, one question
Good, sir, please.
related to in my mind regarding the lithium-ion batteries. Sir, if in case lithium-ion batteries, I have to operate at minus 30 degrees Celsius. Okay. And that how we are going to manage means thermal management system in this regard, and what is the technique, sir, to manage?
Good. So I done a testing, means like when I was in China and I worked on this EV. So we done a EV testing in a minus 30 degrees Celsius in Inner Mongolia. The temperature is always minus 30 degrees Celsius. So what you have to do, you have to keep your vehicle always in charge, is in charging port the whole night. Okay, then and then only it get ignite in the morning. Okay, so where this is one research area where you can have a lot of scope to do a research. Okay, so still there are a lot of companies are doing research on it. Okay, how this situation can be handled. Now thing is that there might be a PCM we can use, phase change material technology we can use, but the first ignition, for that first ignition, at least we need an auxiliary battery, and that auxiliary battery itself we required, it has to be protected from the environment. Correct. So the material for a battery tray, the material, the isolation of the batteries, and even the thermal management system, this all things are comes into the picture, and there is no correct solution for this kind of situation. But still the working of EV for this condition is you have to be in a charging port, you have to put your vehicle in a charging port for a whole night for such kind of scenario, minus 30 degrees Celsius.
Can we use super capacitor, sir, for this purpose?
Of course. Is there, but still you have to be charge the vehicle. Might be in a Tesla. they're using a supercharger
Yes.
and even heater.
Yes. Sir, thank you very much. Thank
Yeah,
you.
welcome.
Yeah, sir. Thank you very
So
much.
this is Prasad Joshi. I want to ask you one question.
Yes,
as-
Prasad Joshi from
as-
which college?
Sir, same college, KBT College of Engineering.
Okay.
We had conversation earlier.
Yes,
So I want
sir, please.
I want to ask you one question. Due to new policy of the government, we need to scrap the vehicles once they are 15 years old. So many people and many entrepreneurs are trying to convert the present IC engine based vehicles into electric vehicles.
Yes.
But is there any possibility that the RTO will come up with the policies or standards of converting the IC engine based vehicles into the electric vehicles? Because if we do that, we are going to avoid a lot of scrap. So is there any policy or standards that are going to come?
Even thing is that the policies given by government, like after 15 years you have to scrap the vehicle, it also not has been come to the down the line. Okay, it is not a compulsory till date. And even we have some connections in RTO also. They also doesn't get any government rule or anything that if we can use that 15-year-old vehicle that we convert IC to EV, it will work. So there is no such a regulations or such a guideline from the government till date. Might be it is there or it will become, but till date there is no official guideline. Okay, but yes, if you convert the existing IC into the electric vehicle, if you would like to scrap, instead of that, you can convert into the EV, because scrapping is for what? Only to reduce the pollution. Because the whole BIW or whole structure you can use, because there is no like harm to the environment.
Yes.
Correct. So
yes,
is there, but it bit expensive again. If suppose you assume that like your car is Alto, and Alto, if you want to scrap, okay, again if you need to convert that Alto into the EV, you need to spend nearly more than 1 lakh rupees
yes,
minimum.
yes. Minimum.
Okay, so again the customer will think, yaar 1 lakh dalna hai, if I put 1 lakh, I will put 1 lakh more, I will buy a new car.
Okay.
Because for on new car I'm getting a subsidy of 20 to 30% as government saying.
Yeah.
This is like this, we need to work it out, like how the corporate reacts on it and how the entrepreneurs are reacting on it.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Hello, this is Assistant Professor Sriyesh Shinde from PCCU.
Yes, please, sir.
Yes, PCCU Pune. So my question is, as we know that government is also supporting and kind of forcing people to buy EVs, but we know that it is not at all. It is not like that. It is 100% pollution free, and the
Yes,
one of
correct.
the problem
Rightly said.
will be battery disposal. Okay, so right now we are currently forcing the production of EVs, but after few years, battery disposal will be the problem, and it is going to again create the pollution. So
Correct.
can you give some idea about how innovative projects can be made in management of that battery wastage? And my second question is, a lot of students and faculty members pursuing PhD like that want to work on EV, on different aspects of EV. But the problem with that is the experimental setups. Those are too costly and they cannot create by themselves or modify by themselves. So are there any companies who are allowing such kind of collaboration or allowing academicians to come and work with them?
Okay. So as per my knowledge, really this is the concern that we are not getting the setup for doing the R&D test. Okay, but there are a few companies are coming. Some few companies are working on a battery technology or batteries. Okay, there is one company in Gurgaon. So they are also working on EVs, but how much they will react for these PhD guys, that we don't know. Even Tata Chemicals are coming for the lithium-ion battery recycling plant in Maharashtra. Okay, so this e-wastage you can say, or might be the battery wastage. So this is again scope of entrepreneurs. So new entrepreneurs or the persons like you may be doing some R&D on it. come up with new solutions. Let it be testing part is something, physical testing part is something different. Okay, but at least some proposals, come up with some proposals. Then might be there are companies they will going to support for such kind of activities. And as per my knowledge, the Tata Chemical is very aggressive in it. They already set up a plant to lithium-ion battery scrapping plant.
Oh.
Yes.
So, sir, is
So
kind of second question. With this, we know that there is wide scope in research in EV in different sectors like battery, thermal management, and everything. But whether any companies which are allowing collaboration in Maharashtra or outside, whether anything is available, or a few government agencies which are helping with some models to give knowledge to the students and others like that.
first of all, you can come to us. We are also heavily working on EV, and even there are few students they are doing some research work with us. Okay, so and we are aggressively working on EV. So the first option is our company, and might be there are some again we need to work it out for other companies. But definitely there are players in the company in the market, so you can approach them. But R&D is really very few, counting on your fingertips. Nobody is doing R&D in EV. You are hearing that there are a lot of EVs, e-scooters, and a lot of manufacturing companies, but they are not doing real R&D in India. They are just importing e-motors and the batteries from the China, assembling here and selling the cars. So the research work, there are very few companies they are doing this research.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Surely, I'll contact you.
Okay.
Any more questions from participant side? Or yes, if the participants want to give any kind of feedback regarding the organization of the FDP, please feel free to give your feedback.
Yes, sir. This is again Assistant Professor Sriyesh Shinde, Pimpri Chinchwad College.
Yes, please,
The
sir.
session, yes, sir. I would like to talk about the session. The 3-day session was absolutely good. It was well managed, and the experts we got are absolutely knowledgeable, and they give us a good amount of knowledge. But I would also request you to continue this, and if possible, we'll go into the depth of this, because 3-day session won't be enough to explore all the areas of EV. So, if possible, I'll request you to arrange another FDP which will explore the depth knowledge about EVs. Thank you, sir, for arranging this.
Thank you, Shreyas sir, and sure we will organize a full depth FDP. Any other participants?
Yeah, Patil sir, this is Professor Sonar from SNJV College of Engineering, Chanwad.
Yes, sir, please, sir, Sonar sir.
First of all, I would like to congratulate the organizing committee and NDMVP College of Engineering, Nasik, for arranging such a wonderful FDP on EV, because this is the need of hour, and it will give most of the opportunities for, learning, as well as what we can say, we can include it in our syllabus, as well as job opportunities and the research opportunities. So thank you so much for arranging these 3 days FDP, and these sessions were wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Sonar sir, for your words of appreciation.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Hello, I am Sagar Wankhede from Pimpri Chinchwad College of Engineering.
Yes, sir.
Hello, I congratulate organizing committee for organizing such a FDP, but I have one suggestion that in nearby future, please organize this event for 5 to 6 days, so that most of the research areas or most of the things will get clear through this FDP.
Sure, sir. Thank you for your suggestion.
We are nicely organized.
Thank you, sir. We will work
I
on your suggestion.
congratulate you once again, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hello,
Yes, sir.
this is Tamichelam from Puducherry.
Yes, sir.
It was a very interactive and informative workshop, and especially the 3 days we were having resource persons from the industry, and they were giving detailed insight. Especially today's speaker, he was conveying that there is less R&D work carried out on EV. Such a kind of workshop, if we are conducted, the people who are working on the academic side also will be knowing more about it, and we can expect that R&D in India related with the EV will be developed. And more information about this FTP and the workshop, it was very interactive. Especially the first session, they gave intro to it. Later, they gave a detailed insight to it. So I thank the organizers. Kudos to the organizers and the resource persons for this wonderful opportunity provided to one and a half. Thank you, one and a half.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your kind words. Okay, then I request our head of the department, Dr. V.C. Shawai, sir, to say a few words. Over to you, Shawai, sir.
Am I audible, Patil, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good morning to all. First of all, I would like to thank today's speaker, Mr. Yuvraj Wadje, for giving very useful and effective talk on electric vehicle future.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Autonomous vehicle. Definitely, this information is very knowledgeable and value added for all the participants. As per the suggestions from some participants that we should arrange this FDP of 6 days so that we'll get a depth of this electric vehicle topic. So definitely in future, we will go for the 6-day FDP in depth with good resource persons. So during these 3 days online FDP, all technical sessions were very effective and value added in the field of electric vehicles. So those who are working and doing research in the field of electric vehicle, for those these all sessions will be more valuable and a good path for research finding also. I also thanks to Dr. Alok Tripathi who has delivered his talk on electric vehicle battery technology. And he explained very nicely all details about the battery technology. I also thanks to Mr. Virendra Talele, who has delivered his talk on electric vehicle integration very effectively. So once again, I thanks to all the speaker for giving their valuable time. And I also thanks to all coordinators of our department, as well as all faculty members of our mechanical department. And lastly, I also thanks all participants for attending this 3-day FDP. Thank you. Over to Patil.
Thank you, sir. Now, as a formality, I would like to propose the vote of thanks. As a coordinator of this FDP, along with Professor Nilesh Kharate, I take this opportunity to thank Mr. Sanjay Nibhande sir, Plant Head ARI Pune, for accepting our invitation as a chief guest for the inaugural function. I am also thankful to all our speakers, Dr. Alok Tripathi, Energy Scientist, Tata Chemicals Limited, Pune, Mr. Virendra Talele, Project Manager, UV Knowledge Link Private Limited, and especially our today's speaker, Mr. Yuvraj Wadje, Director, UV Knowledge Link Private Limited, for giving the wonderful presentations and explaining the insights of electric vehicles future. I extend my regards to our management and Dr. S.R. Devane sir, Principal of our college, and Professor N.B. Desle, sir, Vice Principal, for giving us the opportunity to organize such an event. I'm also thankful to our head of the department, Dr. V.C. Shawai, sir, and all teaching and non-teaching staff members of mechanical department for their support and kind cooperation. Here, I would like to mention some names: Dr. S.B. Sonone, sir, Professor G.M. Shirsat, sir, Professor G.M. Shirsat, ma'am, Professor R.S. Thakre, Professor R.M. Gogre, sir, for organizing and helping us on this digital platform. Last but not least, I am very much thankful to all the respected participants for their overwhelming response and interactive sessions. Hope the participants have benefited from this FDP of new emerging technology of electric vehicles. I once again thank all the participants for making this event a success. Thank you all. I request to the participants that they can fill the feedback form of today's session. But there will be some delay in the link because we are working on the certificates. So once they get ready, we will send the feedback link on the WhatsApp group. So please have patience. We will definitely send the feedback link and the certificates to you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And with the kind permission, I would like to conclude this FDP. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ananda.
Thank you.